And we do. There he is. There's the commander. How are you, sir?
Good. How you doing, Scott? Good to see you again.
You too, my friend. I dig that background that you get to have. Man, I was
Yeah, that's
rolling
lovely.
through there. I was rolling through there when you weren't there last couple weeks ago, and I think you guys were traveling or you're just getting home. And I don't remember. It might have been a day you were coming home. I was rolling over the bridge there. I'm like, wow, what a great place to be able to park your tent and get that kind of a view.
Yeah, we love it. Yeah, it's lovely, and we kind of missed you in Miami. Wish you could have been there.
Yeah, that was kind of an interesting development to say the least. I guess. What do you say about that, man? What a tough spot to be in for those guys that had to make the call. Look, fact of the matter is, if you don't have mainstream media attacking you, you're not probably getting as much work done as you should be. Right? So uh, I look at that. You see that whole thing where these personalities will take words that you use or sentences, and then they'll insert words like Kazarian Mafia. Raphael Madcow takes out the word Kazarian Mafia in like 3 sentences, inserts the word Jew. Well, if I read that and I was Jewish, I'd go nuts. I'd be like, that guy's a freaking Jew hater, as they call him. I'm like, I can't believe this bullshit. And I actually get away with it. But it definitely put the Trumps in a tough spot. Like I said before, if they got to dig that far into the wood pile to pull me out to use as a weapon, they're in deep shit, quite honestly. But yeah, anyways, so when that conversation came online, and I was like, yeah, well, they're not going to use me to beat up. The Trumps have been pounded. They have been pound. I mean, look at they're going after Trump again today with these reports on these documents. Supposedly, were all moved around the day before by Trump's staff before DOJ came in and seized the documents when they broke into Mar-a-Lago. It's like it never stops for this guy. Never stops. They just keep coming and coming and coming. 9 years of this shit attacking Donald Trump. It just doesn't stop. So, anyways, we didn't contribute to that on any level because we were there.
Well, it's kind of like I've done several shows now on gang stalking, targeted individuals, how they use all types of weapons. They use crowds. They basically people to come after people that they don't like. They built up these stories that, yeah, this guy's bad because he did this. He's evil, and it's all untruth. But they have massive numbers of people that stalk us. All right, we see it in our shows. We have trolls that come in and make their comments. So we're gang stalked. We're targeted individuals, and then we have constantly these people coming after us and trying to take us down. So we see it on very large agendas now. We see it. The CIA is involved in it. The FBI is involved with it. The Department of Justice is involved with it. And then we just take it down all the way to senators, congressmen, deeper. We go into mayors of cities. We see a lot of these different individuals are, inducting their police force into stalking. For instance, I use this analogy, this example. If someone were stalking me, they could say, yeah, he worked for the CIA and he was giving away secrets to our enemies, which is complete BS, of course. But they could use that, to discredit me, which they've tried this and they just did that to you, right? So, and then they get all these people involved with it. They get people on the streets involved with it. They pay people, that don't have any jobs. They get them involved in it. They pay them like gift certificates to Safeway. They put them up in housing, and then they give them a car, and then they like stalk us. They do this. They do this to all of us. And you've been a target, I'm sure. A lot of this stuff you've talked about it several times. We've talked about it, separately on the other side about some of this stuff. But it's something you just got again. You got it on a grand level. You got stalked by Rachel Maddow. You got stalked by Alan Dershowitz. They stalked you, they targeted you, and they took you down. All right. So for us, allow that. I don't allow any of that to happen to me or to anyone that I have as a guest. Uh, and I definitely I'm not going to do it to, people that are watching us. I'm not going to target them. I'm not going to go against their characters and so forth. But they do that to us, and they've done it to Trump for a very long time. So they targeted you, and they took you out, just like they do a lot of people. We have to push back on that. We have to see that. We have to know that for what it is, and push back on that. So what kind of credibility do they have? What kind of power do they have, where they can come in and influence the Trumps to take you out of an event? What kind of power is that? We have to look at that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to talk too deeply about all of it because there's going to be conversation coming here in the near future about it. But obviously, I mean, I've seen one vicious attack by this one man, right? Just like went crazy, and my natural instinct is, I'm going to launch a shitstorm on this. But, for certain reasons, especially with the Trump family, I'm not, because again, I don't, they've taken a beating. Like I talked to Eric, and like, I understand, like I think it's the wrong thing to do, like cave into this bullshit. Yeah, but they have taken an absolute beating. The annihilation of this machine coming at Donald Trump is just staggering. So when I look at what that man has put up with, the insanity, all of it, it is still coming at him. I'm like, you know what? I get it. I understand totally. And I can tell you that when I watch this one man go effing ape shit, I had a certain mindset until I got a phone call from somebody. And this person I got a call from is Israeli. I mean, he's a very powerful, wealthy man, and he's a close friend. You'll, of course, get to meet him if you come over on the 17th to the Terra Quantum Recharge Showcase event where you and Tracy are invited to. All our friends are coming in, people like you and a bunch of podcasters coming in for that. But you'll meet him. But we talked, and he's like, what caused this, Scott? And we had this conversation. He says, look, he said, this person actually believes this about you. For whatever reason, he believes it about you. And I was like, yeah, I know. I mean, like, you could comb the entire universe, and the only thing you're going to find is 100% opposite. I'm not anti anything. I've never been anything but pro-human my entire life. In fact, being a Jew hater, my media strategist, my book strategist, Lindy, who I need to introduce you to her for what she can do. I mean, she's the best of the best. Michael Jackson, Tony Robbins, Margot Hemingway, Stallone, Costner. Go through the list of people at Camp David. This is who she's worked with for decades. She's Jewish, right? The man who pulled me off the street and put me in his home for 4.5 years in his 70s, late 70s now. He also is handicapped. He can't walk. Ashkenazi Jew, self-proclaimed. I didn't know what an Ashkenazi Jew was. The disease he has is very rare, and only among Ashkenazi Jews it took away his ability to walk. Jewish man. Most of my clients in Los Angeles, all Jewish, right? So when I'm attacked like is this horrible Nazi, as I was called, an anti-Semite, I just look at it, and of course I want to get vicious and counterpunch. But when this man said this to me, Scott, this individual, he lost family in the Holocaust, because I said something about how I said this was, I said Hitler was fighting the same people back then we're fighting today, the Rothschild central bankers. True, right? Khazarian mafia, as I said, and I talked to this man's son who is Jewish. He said, yeah, he said the Khazarian mafia, they're not Jews. They're not Jewish. I don't use the term Jew. I never hardly ever use a word. It's always Jewish. And that's why I can say this person who wrote that shit, I don't talk like that. I don't use that word. I say Jewish. My friends are Jewish. So he said they're not Jewish. He said they're imposters. They follow the Jewish religion. They're Judaics, but they're not Jewish. They're not Jews. They're Khazarians. So when you insert those two words, right? But when I talk about that, or I talk about the truth, like, folks, let's learn everything. Hitler, evil man, murdered how many millions of people? Why aren't we talking about Stalin as much? 80 million humans slaughtered. 80 million. What about FDR, who allowed 2,000 soldiers to be killed at Pearl Harbor, knowing that shit was coming? Or Winston Churchill, these heroes we put out there in the world? You learn the whole back history of all of it, not just what they fed us for 70 years, the bullshit. What about the rest of them who are culpable for killing humans? I don't care if they're Jewish. My family was wiped out. Native Americans, for Christ's sakes. The Trail of Tears. How many Cherokees died along the Trail of Tears, right? So I don't give a shit who it is, Mike. If you are wantonly slaughtering human beings, spiritual beings, you're an evil person. I don't care what bloodline you have, what color your skin is, what your socioeconomic status is. If you're killing humans, you're an evil son of a bitch that needs to be put to rest. That's how I see it. So anyways, all that being said, this man said to me, Scott, but you should address this with that person directly. You gotta understand, he lost family in the Holocaust, right? And so when he said that to me, I was like, holy shit. So I was easily able to see his perspective. No matter what he believes, it's not true. That I don't care about. We can rectify that. But I was able to go back in. I turned my brain around and see why this person was so vicious. If I had family slaughtered in a Holocaust and I knew about it because I was there or whatever, guess what? I would be vicious as hell if somebody didn't believe the Holocaust. I totally understand this guy's meltdown, totally. And that's the best part of my spiritual ascension, is I could just be totally defensive and say things about this guy that the media has said about him that caused him to nearly file defamation suits against whoever, right? I could go there, but I'm not, because I don't know if that's true. But what I do know is this guy had people in his family killed in a Holocaust. And I would react the exact same way. The only problem we have here is he doesn't know the truth. I can't believe he was sucked into the mainstream media bullshit of Rachel Maddow, who's a proven liar who lost her show for being a proven liar. So when I look at that whole picture of all that, I've had to sit back and wait for a second, like you did in these operations. You're like, you know what? My gut's telling me not to go on that op, guys. We're not going, right? Your intuition saved a lot of lives. My intuition to step back and stand down saved a lot more chaos, right? Because I could have just been going bonkers over it. But that's where we have to, now that to me is a spiritual quest that I had just gone on after having dealt with this thing, Mike. And I always think about you. You don't know the impact and influence you've had on me at such a high level because of the intuitive side of how you let that govern your life. And I always try to emulate those things that I've always heard you talk about, right? Projecting the love, and you have this sort of your I don't want to call it your aura, but it's just kind of how it's like that guy moving across the room. People walk like across the room like this, or you come across the room, it's like your head just you just kind of smoothly flow through everything. So I keep that kind of reaction in my mind. But it comes down to the other people involved. If that's as spiritually aware as we are, then we got a big problem here, right? I can't imagine being controlled by a machine that's that powerful. But then again, I'm not on the other side of it. So this is the first time I've spoken anything about any of this. Guess you were the guy to bring it out of me, but.
Yeah, and glad because you started. I came in when you were talking about basically the love energy is the most powerful force in the universe. We've all heard that, and a lot of people really don't understand that. Love. If I could choose, I was talking to my group just earlier about this. If I had a choice of any weapon out there right now, yeah, I could choose pistols, any kind of pistol, 9mm, 45s. I could choose knives. I could choose spears. I could choose bow and arrow. I could choose, big guns, 50 cal, 7.62. I could have jets behind me dropping bombs. I could have battleships blasting away. If I could have all of that stuff at my disposal, what would I choose? I would choose love. Love is the most powerful force. So Jesus said, love your enemies. He said that. So he said, love your neighbors, love your enemies. I'm all about that. I target people that need love, right? That are evil. like the people that attacked you. I send them love. I don't go angry at them. And I think you just did a good job. You said, I just stepped back and I didn't, because I could feel it rise in you because I've seen you. You're very powerful when you get pissed off, but you're even more powerful when you stay in that very calm, very cool, loving vibration. So I use that against our enemies overseas. I use that against our enemies here in the United States because we are basically, the enemy is in the gate. We are the enemy is among us right now. All right, we have a lot of people that are running the shows around here that are supposed to be good people, but they are absolute evil, evil beyond belief. So, what is the force that annihilates all evil? Love, right? So we have to be in that love, and a lot of people have. I just get this all the time. I've been pounding this for 3 years, but I still have the tough guys come in and said, that's nonsense. I'm like, you don't know how you probably are a Christian. You probably heard that Matthew statement from the book of Matthew statement all so many times over your life. Uh, Forgive your enemies and love your enemies and on and on and on. But here you are, you still want to be angry. You can't forgive anybody that's done bad to you. So as long as you're like that, you're going to be controlled because you're angry. If you're in anger, you're obviously not in love. Love, the most powerful force in the universe. Anger is where they want us. They want us to be angry. Now, you and I do a really good job. We just point stuff out. We point out the Kazarian Mafia. We point out, yeah, Ukraine, that's where they're from. Russia's basically kicking the Nazis' asses again. They even said, we can look at it and go, yeah, they're kicking the Nazis' ass again. So who keeps supporting these Nazis, these Khazarian mafia guys that pose as Jews but are not Jews? I have many Jewish friends. They tell me the same thing that you were just talking about. They pointed that and was like, those guys aren't Jews. They're posers. They use that to use that against us, like you got it used against you. So you're pointing out evil. You're pointing out who the true enemy is, and they attack you viciously. And then I think unfairly, you get shut down at an event where you could have been a very powerful speaker. The only reason I've avoided those events, the only reason why I was coming to the event was because of you. And lo and behold, you get like kicked out. I'm like, what? This is a bunch of bullshit. So I still went to that event. There is some good stuff that goes on there, of course. There's good people that speak there, but that is a big red flag when we have a very powerful individual like yourself that has massive audience. A lot of people were not very happy that you weren't there when they found out. So I think that was a bad move. Here we are. We're fighting. We're the grassroots. We're we're the ones that help keep this thing alive. So all these people that are out there fighting and saying Trump is the best, I agree. Trump is the best. But we have to fight. We have to make sure that we don't get shut down. We have to fight to the point where we send them the love and we stay balanced and we keep fighting, we keep pushing. It's like we're in the shield wall, you and I. We're like the Spartans of old, and we're pushing, and we feel them. We feel it give. I'm feeling it give now, and I'm like, this is where they're going to push back on us the most, but this is where we're really having the effect. We're pushing back on them, and they're falling back. They're falling back, and I'm like, this is almost over, and we had something like this happen. Very, very. I was very troubled. I was very angry. I wanted to speak out very harshly for you. In my private channels, I did a little bit. But here we are now. We're discussing it, and I think it's good. It's good to have a discussion. We're not going to blow it up. It is what it is. It happened. Everyone needs to be aware that they are attacking us on a vicious, massive level, and don't take our grassroots away. We are the grassroots. We're the thing that we're the earth of this whole situation. If we go, then the whole thing collapses. So I'm not going anywhere unless I get taken out, of course. You're not going anywhere. things line up. They like to play games with words. They like to play games with weather. They like to play games with earthquakes. So earthquakes, I think, are going to start to like really pop. We've already started to see earthquakes around the world start to light up. So we saw them light up Turkey with earthquakes. So I think that these guys have, you know, things within their arsenal that are far more advanced than most people think they do. But I think a lot of those systems are being taken down. And like Jason Shirka has talked about with the TLS, they've stopped a lot of things that these guys were going to do. And they were going to be, I've seen them coming, but they got shut down. Typhoons and massive tsunamis and so forth that should have gone off, but that didn't. So we are taking down their infrastructure to a certain extent. We're stopping out some of these events that they want to foist upon us, but all of us being aware and pushing back on that. Again, I think that our awareness, our raising our consciousness, gives the good guys, the white hats, if you will, a little bit more courage, a little bit more oomph to go out there and carry out some of these operations. So the more that we raise our consciousness, kind of like, you know, during World War II, where everyone supported the troops, that's what's going on right now. It's happening again. We're supporting the troops. We're supporting the takedown of this criminal empire, this Nazi organization, the Kazari Mafia, Luciferians, whatever you want to call these people. They're very small. They're less than probably 1% of the population of Earth. So if the rest of the Earth wakes up and turns against them, it's over very quickly for them.
Yeah, and that turning point. Well, I was thinking here when you were talking about, you know, this activity point people need to understand. Folks, when you're looking at a spiritual experience in life, you think about if these people step out and reach out to their tactical civics groups and, you know, grand juries, and like you mentioned, the militia. That's one thing we should define. They've made militia a bad word. Like these preppers, you know, that get their guns and they want to go, you know, start shooting bad guys that are in politics. That's not what a militia is for. It's a certified militia. It has certain duties and responsibilities as an organization to carry out law enforcement type of activities, you know, make arrests, et cetera, et cetera. But if you think about people, you want a spiritual experience. Imagine this: these people go into politics. Some go into law enforcement that they don't belong there. They get on these power trips. That's an experience. And I don't know if you call it a spiritual one, but they just like that idea that I'm important. I get to have, let's just say, people kissing my ass. I got people answer to me and they look up to me and they look to me for leadership. And it's going inside the architecture, which is I call it the black architecture, right? So they have this, they love to feed that thing. Here's a spiritual experience. Imagine you're stepping forward. You want to help save the country. And you're stepping into these groups, tactical civics, constitutional construct that everybody's dialed into and following to a T. And you are on a similar pathway as these politicians and these other people that like to have that ego fed. Your spirit's being fed. Ego's being fed over there because it's all for them. It's not for the people. Over here, your spirit's being fed because you are doing something that is lawful, just, it's righteous, and you are doing it not for you. You're doing it for mankind. You're doing it to restore the nation that our founders gave us. I don't think there's a higher spiritual experience you could possibly be feeling coming into your soul while you're a part of something that everybody wants to be a part of something great. You're a part of something that great, and you are going to be one of those people recognized as the lead restoration for the country, the republic. I mean, there's no more spiritual ascension track you could possibly be on. It'll feed your soul. You're not going to need to hang out with celebrities that the politicians want to be around or doing the little backroom deals to puff up your bank account, because the heroes of the nation are going to be the ones who stepped out to fight to restore the republic. There's nothing that's going to be a greater feeling you're going to live with, believe me, on any level. SG, give you the last word. We're coming at the end of our time on the show. Take it away.
Well, you know, I think the last word is, let's just talk about spiritual food, right? Following your intuition and learning how to hear it again. following your ability to discern what's real and not real, and find a middle of the road where you're comfortable and that your spirit sets peacefully with you. Most of us have never really been able to do that really well most of our lives, right? We've lived in this construct, this crazy system that's had us in some sort of a 9 to 5 or in some sort of a jerry-rigged chase at any particular point in time. If we weren't chasing money, we were chasing a claim. If we weren't chasing that, we were chasing a new couch, whatever it might have been. And so we've been spiritually bankrupted by a system that, warped a lot of our doctrine, put out some pretty salacious, divisive tactics in the realm of spirituality throughout humanity over the last 400 to 500 years. And so what we're coming back into is relearning how to follow our own guidance system. We are programmed with a spiritual system that will steer us in the direction of our own calling. You're witnessing that in communities all across America right now as individuals with no prior experience and with very little knowledge of the system overall are going in and they're winning local representative seats for city council and city commission. They're winning school board elections, which are extremely important, and nobody really talks a lot about them, but they really are super effective at insulating us from these sorts of things to ever happen again in the information space and certainly in the educational world. You're seeing individuals win state level seats at different points along the way. A lot of we the people that are, we have victories, and we're seeing an incredible amount of resignations from the other side to sort of, counterbalance with that and give us that momentum. So what we're witnessing right now is the rediscovery of how to follow our own guidance system and what, that great spirit or that Holy Spirit, however you want to think about it, is pulling you to do and is encouraging you to do. But it is encouraging you to do something. The one thing I think all of us can acknowledge is that we don't win any sort of conflict by sort of being inert. We can generate a lot of momentum. We can certainly send out a lot of love, and we really should, because if you really want to have utter victory all of the time, you just abide in a level of consciousness that's sort of impenetrable, right? It's undefeatable, it's secure, it's safe, it's profound. We could go back to all of the holy books from the major religions to talk about just how powerful that really is. But when you are there, you are often inspired to move into some sort of action. That action does not have to be dramatic and drastic and overwhelming. And if in fact it feels that way to you, it's probably not for you. What it feels like, at least from my own lens, is momentum. It feels active. It's like some wind came into your chest and you have a wonderful inspiration to move into, maybe you go to the store and you have a really good conversation with someone about getting involved locally with a community group. Maybe you have a wonderful conversation with your employer and you help change some of the draconian policy. Maybe you affect the employee morale there. And so, you all band together as a group and you push for we the people policies within your workplace, right? It doesn't have to be running for office. It doesn't have to be those things, but it might very well be. You should be open to the capabilities of whatever you're being called to do. Because at the end of the day, we've got wonderful operators and patriots that are left in the militaries around the world doing a great deal of heavy lifting, but they're not going to be able to push the world, into a new age just on their own. We've got to be involved, heavily involved in the capabilities and the capacities that we feel pulled to. And so we can't ignore that anymore. It's important, I think, to equate that we're very lucky to have wonderful, inspired, fantastic patriots that are doing some of that heavy lifting, but we're not sort of out of the woods if we don't get up and do the things that we feel pulled to do. And you'll have the energy to do them because it will feel like love. It will feel sort of sacred to you. And there's nothing more, like you said, Scott, there's nothing more spiritually fulfilling than living in a purpose and being consciously aware that you're living inside of a higher purpose.
Yeah, what a great way to cap off the show with that narrative. 100%. It is about the love, Mike. You've injected me, man. It's penetrated my cells now. It's taken 2 years, but you finally got to me, man.
I feel it, man. I feel you got it. That's good. It's hard, but you're a good example because you work through it, and I know a lot of people follow you that are studly, tough guys like we are, and they see you make that transition. It helps them to do that as well. So bravo. Good job. Thank you. And great job, SG. Man, it's beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Absolutely, you are a valuable, valuable. I want to say weapon in this war, but I should say cog in the love machine of making transitions, Mike.
There you go.
All right, all right.
Guys,
Okay.
I wish we had another hour to go, but we're going to get the three of us back together again because there's great symbiotic storm here at the Brews. It's awesome, and I think it has a great impact. So, much love to both you battlefield soldiers. It's great having you here.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Much love to you guys. Thanks a lot.
And ladies and gentlemen, there you are. This week's roundtable with serious, spiritual, and love firepower. Make Jaco and SG Anon and Patriot Street Fighter out.